What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm back on r/entitled Well, I say entitled parents. Actually, it's the first time I'm looking at r/entitled parents on this channel. Hope you're excited. 4 entitled people stories for you today. Let's not waste any time. I will just say though, subscribe to this channel if you're new. It's cool to be over 5,000 subscribers, but let's push on to 10,000 now. Turn notifications on as well so you never miss one of these uploads on this new channel. Let's get into the first entitled people story. A woman jumped into my car, and I'm an idiot, but this had a funny ending. I was at a stop sign around lunchtime when a woman on the corner came running over to the passenger side of my car, screeching about needing to get home. I was driving a convertible with the top down. She didn't wait for an answer. She just swung a leg over the door and plopped herself into the passenger seat, saying she'd give me $5 for gas. She told me she lived in a nearby low-income public housing project. I knew where it was, about 1.5 miles away. She was pretty tweaky, but somehow seemed fairly harmless. She never even glanced at me. She didn't seem to be plotting something. She never said another word. So here's the part where you can all give me trash. Please don't downvote me for my stupidity. I figured it was easier to just go 1.5 miles out of my way than to deal with the drama of trying to get her out of my car. My backup plan for carjackings is to just drive into the first telephone pole I see or rear end the first police car I spot. Airbags for the win. Better to deal with the aftermath of that than have your body dumped into an alley. I suppose that is actually fair enough. So I get to the housing project. It was broad daylight and I was right in front of the main entrance with people around, so I didn't feel in any danger. She hopped out and ran off. I wouldn't have taken the $5 even if she'd offered, which she didn't. But mostly I was annoyed that she left the passenger door open as far as it could go. I got out to go around to close it when an older guy in a silver pickup pulls up. He put his passenger window down and asked did I know that woman and was I okay? I replied, I've got no idea who she is, but yeah, I'm fine. He explained that he'd been coming down the street behind me when he saw that woman jump into my car. He followed me to see if anything sketchy was going to go down. I was pretty stunned by the thoughtfulness and told him that, wow, thanks, that was a pretty awesome thing to do. He said, I'd have punched that female dog right out of my truck. He then pointed a finger at my face and sternly lectured me like I was one of his kids. Don't do that again. Okay, yes sir. Of course, he was absolutely correct. And if it ever happens again, let's hope not, I might just take his advice on the punching part. But just try to imagine the entitlement of jumping into a stranger's car because you need a ride. Honestly, if she'd picked the wrong vehicle, it could have turned out a lot worse for her. Wow, what a story to kick off this episode. The audacity of this woman to be like, you know what, I'm in your car now, give me a ride. And you know what, I kind of rate that you just did it because I kind of agree with you. Who knows what might have happened if you didn't? Yeah, obviously, it's still very risky, and that man is right, giving someone a lift to their house, a complete stranger. I don't know about the particular area or establishment that they live in. I'm not going to comment on that. The fact that it's a low-income public housing project doesn't really mean anything to me. But, I mean, the fact is, what if you'd said no and they just shot you in the head? What's more likely, actually, genuinely? And I want you to get in the comments down below on this one, or the Q&A section if you're on Spotify. What is actually more dangerous? Giving someone a lift in the middle of the day, 1.5 miles around the corner, or starting a fight with them while they're in your own car and forcing them to get out, bearing in mind that this is a woman who is doing this. It's not like you're a man and you are quite clearly a bigger person than the woman that's got in your car. Not that that necessarily matters that much, but it is important. Yeah, get in the comments. Interested to hear your thoughts. Let's move on. Now for our second story. Entitled guest wants to open my collector doll for her kid. I moved out of my parents' house last year. My parents have kept my childhood bedroom as it is, with all of my old toys, belongings, clothes, etc., because I go home to visit most weekends and help around the house. This includes some collector edition Barbies and dolls that my dad bought for me when I was younger. I keep them in their boxes, stored on a high shelf. There's about 10 dolls, some of which are collector's items now because of their age and condition. I've not thought about selling them because I just like keeping things that my dad bought for me. I guess I have attachment to them because he worked in the US while we lived in Canada without him, and toys were given when he visited us. This past weekend, I was visiting my mum and she brought some of her friends over. One particularly entitled friend, Jane, brought her granddaughter, a 5-year-old. I told my mum not to let the child up in my room after a bad experience with kids taking my belongings and breaking them. I stayed downstairs and worked in a room. Eventually, I heard Jane taking her granddaughter upstairs. I then heard them opening doors and talking. I didn't go upstairs until I heard her say something about dolls. I went upstairs and I asked them both to leave my room. But Jane was already in my closet at this point and pointing at my dolls. Of course, they pointed at the boxes of Barbies. She pulled one off, showed it to her granddaughter, and told me she wanted to play with it. When I told her, no, it's in the box for a reason, she seemed irritated at me and handed the box back to me. She left my room and the child started crying, saying she wanted to play with dolls. I went through my things and I found some of the dolls that I'd opened as a kid and played with, and I offered them to her downstairs. But no, she kept insisting on the princess doll. They didn't go back upstairs, but it left me a little anxious now about my room. My mum's telling me to put a lock on my door because Jane visits often and tends to wander around, but I'm baffled that she'd go into someone's house and think it's okay to touch their stuff. Yeah, you don't need a lock on your door, you need your mum either not to invite Jane or to tell her to not go into random rooms in her house. That's ridiculous for your mum to say that you need a lock. I'm from a South Asian background, by the way, and this tends to be the attitude of some older women, OP continues. They don't understand collectible culture or sentimentality of gifts. They think they're able to do whatever they want, open whatever they want. Also, edit for extra info, we installed a lock this morning on my bedroom door, and my mum warned her friend not to go in my room in the future. What? I live in a very small condo. It's not big enough for me to bring all of my belongings there, so I've left a lot of clothing and personal items with my parents. Okay, fine, but why is there a lock on your door? I mean, it's all well and good if you want a lock on your door. Like, to be fair, I mean, there's not much wrong with having a lock on your bedroom door for privacy reasons. I would probably say that if I could have one, I probably would have one, because why not? But the point is, you shouldn't be getting that lock on your door for this reason. Like, if you were thinking to yourself, okay, my mum suggested a lock on the door. I actually wouldn't mind a lock on my door anyway, so yeah, sure, I'll do it. That's fine, but not because some random old lady has no boundaries. And also, I don't care if she's like Asian or whatever. Like, that makes no difference to me at all. It doesn't matter someone's background. Just tell them not to do something. They should not do it. It isn't hard. It's not their house. It's yours. Well, it used to be yours. At least it's your mum's. I mean, your mum needs to grow a backbone. Surely. Like, just say, no, Jane, you can't go in my daughter's bedroom, you weird old bitch. Now for our third story. A friend who was a traveling nurse asked if she could come stay with us for 3 months with lots of extras. My wife and I used to live in Hawaii and had a house on the Big Island. One day, I got a call from a friend, Lana, who used to live on Oahu, but then moved to San Diego. She called me saying that she was now a traveling nurse and had to make a decision ASAP about whether to take a job on the Big Island or on the East Coast. She needed to make a decision within 30 minutes, and it was for 3 months, and she wanted to know if she could stay with us and pay rent for that time. I asked my wife, and she said, fine, it will be good to see Lana again. I called her back and said it would be fine for her to stay with us for that time. Then she tells me, oh, by the way, my boyfriend will be coming with me too. And also, I'll need a car too, because I can't afford to rent a car because I've got a $500 per month car payment here in California. That was a bit of a shock, given we'd agreed to her staying with us alone and now there'd be 2 of them. She also asked if we drank coffee, and we did, so she told us she made a 12-cup pot every day. She ended up going through all of our coffee in about a week after she arrived, and Kona coffee was $18 per pound, right? I've got to stop you right there, OP. As soon as she said, oh, by the way, my boyfriend will be coming with me, it's just the easiest no ever. I don't understand some people like OP. I think it's because they're just too generous. People that can't say no, or that don't just immediately go, no, that's not happening. Maybe I'm just not like that. I mean, clearly I'm not like that as a person, and I respect people that are very selfless, but can't you just see that is just it's never going to work. I mean, I don't know. She's just clearly asking for too much immediately, which I would immediately say no to, but whatever, let's carry on. So, Lana and her boyfriend arrived, and he seemed nice and grateful. Then, a new wrinkle was that since she'd be doing a 12-hour shift, her boyfriend would have to drive her to work, and then get her afterwards, making 2 trips each day. I figured out that it was 60 miles one way from our home to the hospital she worked at, which meant a 120-mile round trip, 240 miles each day with the 2 trips down there. So she'd be putting at least 960 miles per week on our car. Then she added that her boyfriend would go fishing during her shift and stay in town, but then also wanted to know where we could get some pot because her boyfriend liked to smoke pot while he went fishing. What am I reading? Honestly, at some point here, you have to just have a look at yourself and say, I'm not doing this. This isn't, I mean, it is entitlement, obviously, but you gotta look at yourself, surely. That was too much to ask, OP said, knowing that her boyfriend would take our car, drive it around town, and be stoned part of the time. We started arguing about it, and after about a week, she found another place to rent, closer to work, and I said that giving her a free car to drive around in was too much to ask. She finally agreed to rent her own car and went no contact with us, and we called her about when she'd return our car. She also complained that the Honda Accord we loaned her did not have the AC working. Well, she eventually returned the car, but never informed us when. Just a final text message that said, "It's in your driveway." She never paid us a penny for her first week staying in our home. Talk about entitled friends. Also, there are 2 updates here. The first one is this. And the second day they were in our home, she asked, "What's the nudity policy in your home?" She wanted to prance around nude. Now, nobody's ever asked that question before, so I didn't have an answer ready. And secondly, prior to this, she was actually a generous friend who always invited us to stay in her home when we visited Oahu. She went out of her way to make special meals for us and seemed like a normal, sane person. We lost touch for a few years, and then she called out of the blue and asked to reconnect. We had no idea she'd make such outrageous demands after we initially agreed to let her stay with us. We were kind of stunned by her new demands and tried our best to accommodate her. Living with her was a whole different story. We did our best for the sake of our friendship, but it became too much once she lived with us. Okay, maybe I can understand it, but I don't know. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I have to agree with myself as I was reading that. There is a limit with entitled people, and I get it. She'd been nice in years gone by, but as soon as she said that, oh yeah, by the way, my boyfriend's staying as well, that would have been the end for me, because I would have said, right, well, I didn't agree on that, so you're already changing what we've agreed, and therefore that's not going to work for me and my wife. And then, yeah, maybe at that point you arrange something else and you come to a different agreement, or maybe you then say, okay, well, if your boyfriend is going to come, then that could just work, but we're going to need some money for that. And then like the car stuff as well, letting her use your car, I don't know, it's a lot, isn't it? I probably would have said, you know what, no, it's not going to happen. Now, obviously that doesn't detract from her entitlement. I just feel like at some point, as I said, you've got to look in the mirror and be like, this isn't going to work, no matter how generous you want to be. Now for our final story. Entitled Realtor? Why, yes, she is. A few winters ago, my neighbours moved rather suddenly before they sold their house. This left their house empty, and they worried about it looking empty, so they asked if I could go over once in a while and turn on lights, maybe shovel the walk if we got snow. You know, make the house look lived in. I had no problem doing this, as they'd been great neighbours, and I was sad to see them go. That same winter, I had a toddler, a baby, and I was pretty decently pregnant, around 7 months along. My husband also worked a lot out of town, so about 2 weeks out of the month, I was on my own with my brood. So my ex-neighbour must have let their realtor know that I was helping by turning lights on and off and shoveling the front walk if it needed it. The realtor showed up, I'll call her Ronnie, and introduces herself and thanks me for my help. Great. She must have also got my number from my ex-neighbour, because soon she started texting me requests. This ranged from dusting the house, turning on certain lights, etc. ahead of showings. I went over the first time she asked, and I did swiff a bit and turn on the requested lights. She texted me later saying she was disappointed at how dusty the house was. I ignored that as I didn't give a hot dang what she thought. Then the request became an everyday thing. She basically wanted me to set the house up every time she had a showing. I had my kids and was very pregnant with a high-risk pregnancy. I wasn't on bed rest or anything, but I had to be careful. I ignored all those requests. The kicker came when we got heavy snow. I'm talking a good 1.5 feet of heavy, wet snow. Heart attack snow. Ronnie the realtor texts me at 8 p.m. that she will need the driveway cleared by the next morning. The absolute audacity was audacious. I responded to that one asking if she was out of her mind. I'm 7 months pregnant. That's not happening. She then asked if my husband could do it. I said he was out of town. She said, quote, "Well, you'll have to figure something out." Excuse me, madam? I sent her laughing face emojis and went back to what I was doing. Well, lo and behold, Ronnie the realtor was at my door the next morning, knocking like she was the police, full on fist banging. I opened the door in my pajamas while using my baby bump to hold up my baby as he nursed. Irish twins are fun, and I just stared at her. She actually had the nerve to say, "I thought I told you the driveway needed to be cleared. I have a showing in a half hour." I told her to lose my number and shut the door in her face. I then called my ex-neighbour and told her she'd better put a leash on her pet realtor because I was about done with her. She was horrified and promised me she'd take care of it, which she must have done because I didn't hear from Ronnie the realtor again. I did, however, enjoy watching her high-stepping it through all that snow. Oh my goodness me. Like, the fact that throughout all of this, I imagine she knew who you were. Maybe she didn't actually. The funniest thing about this story is that even throughout all of this, we can maybe give Ronnie the benefit of the doubt that she didn't realize you were pregnant and had a toddler and were home alone. But then that all ends when she looks at you in the face with the door open at OP's home and she is heavily pregnant, has her baby there, and it's like snowing loads. I mean, they then ask at that point, I thought this was meant to be gone. It's ridiculous, but quite funny to be honest. Again though, with this one, I feel like I would have stopped this a lot earlier and said to my ex-neighbour, just so you know, I'm being asked to do pretty ridiculous things here. Like even dusting the house. You'd be like, well, no, I'm not doing that because that should be the job of the realtor or the ex-neighbour. Like, I get it, it's a nice thing to make your house look lived in. That is important as well. You would do that for someone's neighbour, and you would dust, you know, once in a while if they were out for a long time and you really had to do that, although you'd still sort of hope that they would employ a cleaner or something to do that. Anyway, this is just too far when you're like trying to help them sell the house, which is the realtor's job. Like, they should be doing that. They should be employing the realtor to then do that, or they should be, you know, employing a cleaner themselves to help sell the house. But yeah, again, like, it shouldn't have got to that point, but it was very funny. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you are new around here, I know it's a new channel, then hit this little button. Where is it? Here. Subscribe. If you've missed the previous videos on this channel, perhaps this is the first one you've seen. I've got a couple up on screen. And yeah, turn notifications on because I'll be back very soon. I'll catch you on the next one.